the 10 top players in Florida State football history. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And joining me has been two great gentlemen that's been with me over the past 3 months, and they've brought football to its highest level here on Facebook and throughout the world. I'm just going to say it, and I'm proud to have them on my show. The first gentleman played at Florida State University. He was a first-round pick of the Atlanta Falcons in the 1981 draft, 25th selection overall, Mr. Bobby Butler. The other gentleman, I call him the man, football extraordinaire, one of the most talented high school football coaches in the state of Georgia. He coached at Riverdale, Lovejoy, Dutchtown, and Mount Zion. Go by the name of Kevin the Bull Jones. So sit back as we're going to give you the top 10 players in Florida State football history. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. So, Mr. Bobby Butler, who played at Florida State, who comes in at number 10 on your list?
Well, I tell you, it's been a struggle all week for me to come up with this list because we have so many great players down there. But at number 10, I got to go with this young man. He's from Jacksonville University. At Florida State, he played safety and corner, was a great standout player for the Green Bay Packers, Super Bowl champion, 4-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 12-year career, Mr. Leroy Butler.
Okay. Coach Bull Jones, who comes in at number 10 on your list?
Well, I know just like last time we did this with Bama, you know, some of you guys think that as they go, I'm the baby in the bunch, so I might not know some of these guys. But I do know this guy. And this guy, for me, number 10, is Fred Biletnikoff. He is the first, one of the best receivers to ever play football at Florida State University. Didn't realize he was also the first All-American there, you know, so he was a great player for them. You know, he was so good, guys, that they named an award after him for college football, the Fred Biletnikoff Award, which actually says that you are the premier, you are the best receiver in the college football game. And keep in mind, he was playing back in the days when the receivers got in the three-point stance, and they were called flankers back then. And one year he had over 50 receptions, and he did a fantastic job of being that guy that Bear Bryant threw to in those situations where they need the big catch. Also, I want to add that he is also a perennial All-Pro in the NFL, as well as in the Hall of Fame, playing for those Oakland Raiders back then. But my number 10 is Fred Biletnikoff.
Number 10 on my list, he started tradition. He came after Fred Biletnikoff. And I saw him play when I was about 8 years old because Florida State used to play Memphis State back in the late 60s. I'm going to Ron Sellers. First-time All-American after Fred Biletnikoff at wide receiver. He comes in at number 10 on my list. Number 9, Brother Butler.
Number 9, he's the guy that got it all started. DB University out of Macon, Georgia. First-round draft choice in 1973 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 4-time Super Bowl champion, All-Pro, Mr. J.T. Thomas.
Wow.
Number 9, Mr. Kevin the Bull Jones.
Well, you know me. I'm a defensive guy, but, you know, the offensive guys deserve love too. So on number 10, I went with offensive guy. Hint, hint. So, you know, I'm coming with the defensive player. My first one is going to be Marvin Jones, linebacker, 2-time All-American. Like you said before, Bobby, all these guys are going to be All-Americans at some point and some level in their collegiate careers, according to whatever press, Associated Press, or news agencies that put them out there. They all are All-Americans. We're talking about Florida State, the Florida State University. Marvin Jones was also one of his greatest claims to fame, that not only was he an All-American, 2-time All-American, he's a Butkus and Lombardi Award winner. And that had, before then, had never been done. So he won both awards. The Butkus Award goes to the outstanding linebacker in college football, but the Lombardi Award can go to the defensive lineman, or it can go to the linebacker. And he won both in that year. So that's my pick.
Shade Tree.
Coming in at number 9 on my list. Coach Jones, you should know this gentleman. He played on the 2000 Florida State team. He was an All-American at the cornerback position. Tay Cody out of Blakely, Georgia. One of the top prospects that's ever played here in the state of Georgia. He comes in at number 9, and boy, he was a football player.
Wow. Okay.
Number 8, Brother Butler.
Number 8, maybe the most explosive wide receiver in Florida State history. I thought he could have won the Heisman when he came out of college. Peter Ward, 2-time consensus All-American, one of the most explosive player. I would say he took the national championship out of Michael Vick's hands in 2000 down in the Sugar Bowl. Peter Ward, number 8.
Number 8, Coach Bull Jones.
All right. So we have Mr. Terrell Buckley.
T-Bob.
And I'll tell you why I have him there at this spot, number 8, because you got to welcome him to that top 10 fraternity, I call it. You know, he's once again an All-American. He had the most interceptions in a career at Florida State University. Career-wise, he had the most. What highlights his success that he had when he played at FSU was that he also had 12 interceptions in 1 year. You know, which, I mean, anybody that knows anything about, and Bobby, you know this because you played there and you played the position at the highest level. To get 12 picks in a year, that's you know, you can count on probably one hand how many times that's been done on either the NFL level or the collegiate level. And also, I like to add that when, you know, Mr. Buckley was also played in special teams, and he was also a kick returner. So he added some more flavor to his value when he played collegiate football. Now, once again, you know, he's there at number 8 for me, Terrell Buckley.
Okay, I had Mr. Butler coming in on my list, but you stole him, Coach Jones, but you're doing your homework. But I'm going to say this right quick about Mr. Buckley. I always go back to that game he had his junior year against Desmond Howard when they played Michigan back in 91, and he put on the show. But number 8 on my list, Coach Jones, I'm going to go on the offensive side of the ball, and what you like to coach real lovely and you good at is the offensive line. He didn't get his respect with the Atlanta Falcons, coming out of Orlando Evans High School. My man, Jamie Dukes, started all 4 years at Florida State. One of the best linemen that ever came through their program. Number 7, Brother Butler. Let's get it hyped. Florida State in the house today.
Hey, number 7, in my opinion, the greatest running back in Florida State history. Now, that's a mouthful because we've had some great running backs there. Was drafted in the first round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Came to Atlanta. He's in the Ring of Honor in Atlanta and wasn't even drafted by the Falcons. A great man, Walter Payton, Man of the Year award, 3-time first team All ACC. I mean, he did it all. Pro Bowl, 3-time Pro Bowl in the NFL, but a great man, a man who not only lived by a high standard on the football field, but also off the field. And so my pick, Ward Dunn.
Coach Jones, number 7 on your list.
Also like to add about, you know, that's just fantastic pick. Also mentioning he also is a minority owner for the Atlanta Falcons.
He is. A
little untold thing that, you know, thing unknown to a lot of people, but you know, he sits up top. He has his own seat with his name up there. All right. So my number 7, you know, and here's the thing about Florida State football to me. There have been, you know, the accolades for the offensive side of the ball have been there, but there's something about that defense at FSU and the history of the defense. Yes, I'm biased because I'm a defensive coordinator guy, but still, there's something about that side of the football that just changes the game. Now, my number 7 is a man that started it all on the defense side of the ball. You might know him, you might not know him, but you're going to know him after I finish saying this name. But, you know, all the talk of the winning that FSU has had, this young man, it was part of all of it. He was there when it started. He was on that team that in 1979 went undefeated until they got into the Orange Bowl. Okay, he was the original number 21 Hint, hint. You might know this man, but he was original number 21. And folks, I tell you, soaking wet, pound for pound, he was 154 pounds. Okay, I think I got some shoes and some clothes that weigh more than him. And he's played Division I college football. And when you talk about defensive backs, DBU, you know, Georgia is running back U. Okay, you know, Alabama is linebacker U. Well, you know, FSU is DBU. And this young man, y'all might have heard of him before. He blocked 5 punts, you know, in special teams player coming off that edge. But more importantly, he was the top defensive back on that team. And also he had 11 interceptions in his career. Y'all might have heard of him. By the way, he was first round draft pick of the Atlanta Falcons in 1981. My guy in that top 10 that started off with those secondary guys, DBU. Think y'all heard of him. His name is Bobby Butler.
Well, you're too kind, Coach. You're too kind. You're too kind.
154 pounds. I'm sorry, guys. No discredit to anybody else, but you're 154 pounds. I have kickers and punters that are bigger than that, you know. But when you're 154 pounds, I need all the listeners to hear this, because when you play press man coverage and you're 154 pounds, there's something about when that wind blows, it can take you a certain way. But Bobby Butler had something to answer to all of that. And I believe out of Delray Beach, this man, if y'all know who I'm talking about, should be in that group because of his ability to play. He started it all. Okay. And that's the alpha beginning for him. He started at DBU for the legendary Bobby Bowden.
Wow. Well said.
Wow.
Number 7 on my list. He started the running back tradition at Florida State. True freshman, 322 yards against Western Carolina.
All right.
Out of Milton, Florida. The legendary Greg Allen.
Greg Allen.
On number 7 on my list.
Yes.
Number 6, Brother Butler.
Number 6, this guy is the most crucial recruit in Florida State history, and also in the Bowden dynasty. We came out of high school the same year. We were in the same class. My pick for number 6, 2-time consensus All-American, 9th in the Heisman Trophy voting as a defensive player, my man, Ron Simmons, a.k.a. Farouk, is my number 6 pick. Ron Simmons.
And he was a wrestler.
And he
went on to wrestle. The career speaks for itself.
Great wrestler.
Number 6, Coach Jones, on your list.
Well, you know, okay, so we're on the defense side of the ball now. I'm going to hop back to the offense side of the ball. I'm going to give you offensive guys some love. Okay, I didn't forget about you. And this young man, name's been mentioned already before, but the thing that I think it's very profound about what he was able to do in a short amount of time, as his ability to electrify people. He made everybody, even folks that were non-football watchers, watch football on Sunday afternoons at around 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. He was able to catch the ball, and his plays he made were synonymous with electrifying, charismatic, and being able to that performer on Saturday afternoons. And that's, for me, is Peter Warwick. Peter Warwick, he's 2-time All-American, holds a record for 32 career touchdowns. He had some of those also on the special teams, but most of them came from career receptions, 32 touchdowns. And another thing I'd like to add about him that warms my heart and give him some love about it. He's also been a very productive assistant coach in the metro Atlanta area, giving his time to kids, trying to help players press on and give his knowledge of the game to kids at the next level. You know, say what you want about him, about, you know, whatever happened in collegiate time, but, you know, we were all young at one time. The only difference is, you know, they have cell phones now as opposed to back then. But this man has given more than his time and efforts to be one of productive assistant coaches in Metro Atlanta area. I respect him highly for that. but he did put on the show. And if you look at him, he's still built where he can make those plays, guys. He looked like he can still do it.
Number 6 on my list is a young man out of Lake City, Florida. D-line. And boy, I love this football player. He played from 93 to 96. Renard Wilson. And if you look at the history of Lake City, they put him out.
Yes.
Yaquel Green, Edwin James. And my boy Renard Wilson was a football player at Florida State.
The real deal.
Number 5, Brother Butler, on your list.
Number 5 on my list. Coach Jones already got him. I think Coach Jones started with him. But Fred Biletnikoff.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was so good, man. Hey, the best receiver in college football is named after him. The Biletnikoff Award. Can't get any better. Here's a guy who was probably in his time the greatest route runner of all time. Yeah. And Coach, when he got in the NFL, you know, you look at him, you go, oh, he's just a little skinny kid, you know, probably can't run that good. Ran the best routes. And one of the most confident people that I know to this day. All right. Yeah. Back in the trash talking days, when he played the Raiders, he was on one side and Cliff Branch, the speed took the top off, Coach.
Gotcha.
And then Fred did his thing. He was killing him on the other side. So my number 5 pick is the great Fred Biletnikoff.
Number 5, Coach Kevin the Bull Jones.
Real quick, Vincent, Bobby, can you tell me just how fast was he? You know, you don't hear anything about his speed, but his productivity. I know having a coach against somebody that can have that type of wiggle and make things happen, it's a deception. But how fast do you think he really was? Not taking away from the things he was able to do on the field.
You know, I really don't know, but I'm going to guess that he probably was no better than 4'6", 4'7". Wow. But let me tell you guys something. He played both ways at Florida State. He picked the ball off. Listen to this now. He had the record at one time. He took an interception, 99 yards. So when we're talking about game speed, he had game speed, Coach. Let me say it that way. So gotcha. what probably wasn't a great 40 guy, but he knew how to play the game of football. He had game speed. Great talent.
Awesome.
And he was an MVP of a Super Bowl. I mean, you know, we got a lot of Super Bowl champs on this list. He was an MVP of the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Number 5, Kevin the Bull Jones.
Okay, mine is a guy that you all have mentioned earlier, but I'm bringing him into that top 5 window. And you know, for me, that top 5 can get flipped anyway. You know, because we're talking about top players coming from Florida State University. My number 5 guy held at one point the record for the most yards in the season. He had over 1,200 yards rushing. He had that was a single season. His career rushing yards was just under 4,000. You guys mentioned him earlier. He had 49 career touchdowns at Florida State, and that's Warwick Dunn. Also, consensus All-American, and he did something. He ran track a little bit. He was on a relay team back in '96, you know, and Bobby, I know that you also had some time dealing with that track team at Florida State, you know, in addition to your football duties on that relay team. And that's just impressive to show as an athlete, you're being able to do 2 things in the same year as far as sports concerned. But Warwick Dunn is my guy. That's number 5 on this list. Unbelievable man. His volunteer efforts and his dedication to the community is priceless. You know, we could have a whole show just on that by itself. And as I mentioned for you listener, he is a minority owner and with Mr. Arthur Blank and the Atlanta Falcons. Great guy.
Great pick.
Number 5 on my list. He out of Pensacola, Florida. Playing Emmett Smith, Roy Jones Jr., 274 career tackles.
Yes.
And boy, I went to Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers. Y'all know who I'm talking about. My man, Derek Brooks. And you talking about a guy that that's done a lot of things off the field.
Yes.
All you got to do is look at his organization, how he take kids to Africa.
Yes.
That's my man that comes in at number 5, Mr. Derek Brooks. Number 4,
great guy.
Brother Butler.
Great guy.
Well, Vincent, You said it. My number 4 pick is Derek Brooks.
Oh, wow. Y'all on the same page.
Listen. This guy, let me tell you something about Derek Brooks. See, when we say linebacker, we think about, the edge rusher. We think about a guy who can drop and pass. He's probably the best pass coverage outside linebacker in the history of the game.
I agree.
Yes.
It's nothing for him to drop in coverage and pick one off and go 60. He was that kind of athlete. I'm telling y'all, right? This guy was an 11-time Pro Bowler. You can build your organization around a guy like this. When I say a character guy, he's a character guy. And so, without a doubt, my number 4 pick is Derek Brooks out of Pensacola, Florida. My man.
Coach Bull Jones.
Well,
Number
my
4.
guy.
Yes.
My guy. Now watch this. Watch this. We had my guy. Y'all sit down, hold your seats because I'm about to make some folks jump out the seats here. My guy, number 4, and I'm gonna tell you why he's number 4.
Okay.
And I'm gonna give it to you. Number 1, he came to Florida State. Supposedly, he's run the fastest ever 40 that's ever been recorded. He played baseball, ran a little bit of track.
Mm-hmm.
He did all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
but he electrified college football with his punt returning abilities, as well as playing defensive back. But for me, he was a defensive back / special teams guy that was unmatched. And in that recognition, I thought of him as a tool guy, because be able to score points off special teams and then turn around and play defensive back. Now, I know he doesn't hold the record, but everybody knows him because he's got a nickname that goes by Prime Time. But he's my number 4 guy, and it's Deion Sanders, because he was able to play, once again, Jim Thorpe Award winner, consensus All-American. His numbers are, even though his numbers as far as playing in actual games and having big plays, you can't match it against anybody else, because things that he was able to do to electrify college football and those people with the money, we call the big networks. He was the guy back in the day. I remember profoundly, Vincent, one game he played on a Saturday afternoon, and he was literally doing a dance and waving at the crowd. He was getting ready to take a punt back for a touchdown. He said it that he was going to do it, and then he turned around and did it. And then after the game, he still had that $1 million smile. But what a performer for collegiate football! What a performer for the FSU family. Now, he, of course, went to the next level to play under the tutelage, I call it, of the original number 21, because when Prime was there, he wore number 2. But then when he came to the Atlanta Falcons, Bobby Butler wore number 23, Prime wore 21, and boy, what it turned out to be. So I thought that Deion got a chance to be in that top 5 group because of the things he did, special teams wise, and as well as the interceptions that he did take back on the collegiate level.
Number 4 on my group. I got to go with this defensive tackle. He's out of the same area Brother Butler's from, Coach Jones. Very athletic. Had committed to the University of Georgia. And, man, he made an interception against Virginia in 1999 on the national championship team at the D-tackle spot that made me say, woo-wee. Corey Simon is my number 4 on my list. Number 3, Brother Butler.
I grew up with Corey Simon's mother in Delray Beach.
Wow.
Sometimes we got to do some root finding, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let the church say amen.
Amen. Number 3, this guy, see, this kind of guy, Coach, don't get all the accolades, right? But this guy, I want you to hear what I'm about to say now. could be the best player at his position on any level.
Oh, wow.
Okay. He was drafted in the first round by the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
The best offensive tackle could be in NFL history, Mr. Walter Jones. NFL Hall of Famer in 2014.
Yeah.
9-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first team All Pro. This guy, listen, every game he played in, he never got hurt.
Okay.
Played in every game, 13 seasons, started every game from day one.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, you need to look at tape on him, and you'll have a highlight film what an offensive attack is supposed to look like. Walter Jones is my pick.
Number 3, Coach Jones, on your list.
I tell you, Bobby, you floored me. You floored me with that one. I wasn't ready for that, but in such high honor, I agree. Walter Jones, he deserves all that. Plus, he probably related to me, another Jones. So
we had to get him in there, Coach.
throw that in. I got a couple of cousins in here somewhere. Marvin Jones, Walter Jones.
Walter Jones.
All over the place. But listen, here's where my number 3 guy. And the reason why he's the number 3 guy is because his ability, here's the thing, those upfront guys have to create that pressure. Now, yes, I truly believe that when I mentioned Bobby Butler, I know that when he finished playing in his career and starting DBU, prime time came later. Terrell Buckley came later. Okay, Leroy Butler came later. And all those, Terrell had the leading, Terrell and Leroy had those numbers 1 and 2 as far as interceptions for a career. Bobby Butler was right there, with them as well as prime time. But somebody had to rush that quarterback. And when you had secondary guys covering, man coverage, I call FSU man DBU, defensive back university. This guy made it hard, made it happen. And he could even cover people as well. You mentioned him earlier, Vincent. I'm going with him right here. Derek Brooks, 2-time All-American, ACC Player of the Year, 274 tackles his career, 5 interceptions. As we mentioned, he could cover, and 8.5 sacks. Derek Brooks. And he was, sports fans, sports listeners, he was not 6'3", 245 pounds. Okay? He was 6'1.5", 220, bringing the pain.
That's right.
Dropping people off in their tracks. We call it the uh-oh hit, because when he hits you,
bam,
motion stops.
Bam.
Number 3 on my list, and I'm going to piggyback on you, Coach Jones. You had him kind of earlier on your list. I love this great game of football, man, and I've been following it since I was almost 6 years old. And at the cornerback position, I've seen some great players. And to be blessed with you 2 gentlemen, first of all, I'm going to start with you, Coach Jones, with your knowledge is outstanding. But the guy that made number 3 on my list, I cannot say I'm more proud and honored to even have him number 3 on my list. And based on how I saw the game evolve, I saw Lynn Barney at Jackson State.
Okay.
Mike Haynes at Arizona State.
Wow.
Mark Haynes at Colorado. Kenny Easley at UCLA. Ronnie Lott at USC. Pamper at Southern Mississippi. Ronell Young, Alcorn State. Albert Lewis at Grambling. All of them had their one factor. They were physical and covered man to man. Well, like you said, Coach Jones, it'll be wrong if I ain't got the man sitting right in front of me, number 3 on my list. Who's there to be Florida.
Come on, man.
As you said, Coach Jones, who set the tone at Florida State at DBU.
That's right, DBU.
Comes on number 3 on my list.
Awesome. DBU. Yes, sir.
You guys are embarrassing.
It started with you, Bobby. It started with you. You can flip it any way you want, baby. But when they watched you play, they said, I'm going to FSU.
I'm going to say this, Coach Jones. I saw Lynn Barney play when I was 7 years old at Jackson State. And he was one of the best physical cornerbacks I ever seen in my life. Today, I got a new nickname for our gentleman from Delray Beach, Florida. I'm going to call him Baby Barney. And I'm going to leave it at that. Number 2 on your list, Brother Butler.
Hey, number 2, man. Hey, listen, you know, the top 10 is tough. We started getting 2 and 1, you know, we're talking about the premium, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
So my guy is from South Georgia, Thomasville, Georgia. You know, 1993 Heisman Trophy winner, brought us our first national championship at 2FSU. Great character, man. He was a 2-sport guy at Florida State. Great basketball player. Chose not to play football, however that controversy went. Won the Heisman. Didn't get drafted in the NFL. Got drafted by the NBA in the first round by the New York Knicks. Had a great career, 12-year career with the Knicks. Just a great man, great character guy. I remember seeing him for the first time. I went to a game on a Saturday. Me and a bunch of guys flew down the day before our game, and against Miami. I think Miami was ranked number 2. Florida State was ranked number 1. We flew down on a private jet, and Mark Richt pulled me aside, knowing that I played quarterback. We grew up together. He said, "Bobby," he said, "you see that young man right there standing over there?" I go, "Yeah, I see him." He said, "He's going to be our next quarterback." And to myself, I said, "Yeah, right. We're going to see about that." Well, the guy's fantastic. Charlie Ward, Thomasville, Georgia, 1993 Heisman Trophy winner, first national championship, brought us to Florida State. Great character guy. Couldn't be nobody. I can't be more proud of a guy like Charlie Ward. He's my number 2 pick.
Amen. Good pick.
Number 2 on your list, Coach Bull Jones.
Well, somebody's already mentioned this guy, but I just have to say, for me, as a young kid watching football back in those days and watching the announcers, Keith Jackson and those, talk about this gentleman that played on the field against Clemson and other schools and his work on the interior line. And I'm going, how can you talk about a player that he's not a skill guy? Well, he wasn't. He was Ron Simmons, who at that point was the greatest defensive player at Florida State University. For so many reasons, his name was synonymous with brute strength, quickness, tenacity, and ball get off. And it made it hard for people to have to block him. He was the strongest man on the FSU football team. Okay, till this day, he recorded 25 sacks in his career, 25 sacks. You know, you're talking about a 4-year career. You know, a lot of kids don't get 25 sacks in the season. But here's the number that got me, guys. And y'all know how I feel about, you know, those defensive numbers. This is a number that tells you really the motor of a guy. Because a lot of times when he gets sacks, it's because your teammate did something to flush somebody to you. But when you have 44 tackles for losses, guys, that's incredible. I had one player that had 48 in the season, Nathaniel Norwood, who was all-state for me at Lovejoy, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, defensive player for the state of Georgia. But if I tell you right now, a bigger version of him was Ron Simmons. So impressed with him and his ability. And people I watched the game in the Orange Bowl. They had 3 people blocking him a couple of plays, which meant somebody else had to make plays. But guys, he was the first player from Florida State University, defensive player to ever have his jersey retired. He was the very first. That's my guy, number 2, Ron Simmons.
Number 2 on my list is very simple. Coach Jones, you talked about him, out of Fort Myers, Florida. And you gave him all his accolades, so I don't have to say nothing. From my standpoint, when I recognized him, they played Auburn in 1986. Auburn had this receiver named Lawyer Tillman. That was yapping. And Auburn was number 2 coming into the game against Florida State. And my man, nicknamed Prime Time, did this for him. I think Lawyer Tillman had 1 reception that game. And that's when the myth was born. And then I'm going to pick it back on you, Coach Jones. It was that Clemson game. Second game of the season after Florida State had gotten beaten by Miami 31-0 in the first game.
That's right.
He played that fourth quarter.
Yep.
The Clemson fans were throwing things at Prime.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
Calling him names that I'm not even going to bring on here today. But what he did, he took that punt 88 yards. He's number 2 on my list, Deion Sanders.
Prime time.
Prime time.
Number 1, Brother Butler, who makes it at the top of the list is the all-time Florida State greatest player in football history.
Yeah. Well, he came to Atlanta. This is what he said. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Number 1, the baddest man on the planet. He's super bad. Deion Sanders, prime time. He brought hip hop to Atlanta. He brought it all. 6'1 1/2, 195 pounds, one of the bigger corners of the time, right?
okay.
But when I say run like a gazelle, run like a cheetah, he was all that. I'm telling you, there was nothing he couldn't do on the football field. I've seen a lot. I could run myself. I ran the 4.344 coming out. I was a track All-American. I've seen a lot of fast guys. I'm from South Florida, bro. I've seen it all.
That's right. South
I
Florida.
grew up in Florida. We played against each other in high school, AC, right? I mean, I played against it all. Carlos Carson, speed guy. He's the fastest guy in Palm Beach County. Played for the Kansas City Chiefs, LSU. I've seen it all.
That's right.
But I ain't never. Listen, I played 12 years in that thing.
12 years.
I ain't never seen speed like prime time, Deion Sanders. Sometimes I've been in the field with him, and I see him do something. I do like this, y'all. Did I just see that? Is that real? Is that cartoon? Man, I've seen him playing safety on the kickoff team, Coach Jones. And BB from the Buffalo Bills, 4.240, shaking. He falls on the ground. He gets up and go get him before he get to the ends. Man, look at him, man. Look at him. Let me tell you something. He's super bad. My teammate, my little brother, I love him. Greatest player ever at Florida State. Deion Sanders, a.k.a. Prime Time.
Coach Jones, you're number 1 on Florida State all-time football list.
Okay, so my guy has been mentioned earlier, but it is his renowned presence to play 2 sports and to be so good at one of them that he gets a national championship in one, starting quarterback in one, but he decides to go play in the NBA. And he just won a Heisman Trophy, but he decides to go to the NBA and play against the world's greatest athletes. There was something about this guy's composure. You all have already talked about his stats and the man that he was. That impressed me as a young kid watching an African-American quarterback get on the field, lead Coach Bowden's offense. In that time, they were doing things. He was running. He was Lamar Jackson back then. He ran, he threw, but his composure. And for me as a coach, I always look at a kid's composure because you can be the best athlete on the field. But if I can find a way to rattle you and get you out of your game, that's what some of the great ones did. Bill Laimbeer did it in basketball. Dennis Rodman did it. People find a way to talk you out of your game and shake you. And this young man was just, to me, synonymous with being cool, poised, and professional. But the thing I like about him and the reason why I made him my number 1 was because he brought FSU, Bobby Bowden, the legend, his first national championship. And that was quarterback Charlie Ward from South Georgia, Thomasville, Georgia. First ever FSU Heisman Trophy winner as well. So there's 2 firsts ever. National championship, Heisman Trophy. Guys, at the end of the day, impression upon a young kid such as myself at the time, how great you could be if you put your mind to it. It was Charlie Ward.
And to end number 1 on my list, I got to agree with Coach Jones. I know there's been some great football players at Florida State, but for me personally, To me, he was the gentleman that got the first one, like Coach Jones said, for Bobby Bowden.
Yeah.
And to be an African-American quarterback to do it at Florida State, I became proud that day. And then think about this. His junior year, I think it was his first start here, like a game we had like 6 interceptions in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was asking him in the media, it's going to be able to leave Florida State. He comes back his next year, wins the Heisman Trophy, wins the national championship. Then we had that controversy of him playing at the next level. And he said, you know what? I saw y'all one better. I go to the NBA and become a first-round pick at the greatest franchise. Well, I'm going to say the most microscope franchise in all the NBA, the New York Knicks. And he had some great years with the Knicks.
Yes, he did.
So my man, Charlie Ward, as Coach Jones says, is number 1 on my list as all-time Florida State greatest player. So if you like the video today, please comment and share it. It's been some good stuff today here on 100 Yards of Football. We'll see you next week.